G'day mate, my name's Dylan and this is the Band Buff NPC. I'm going to be going over some things I think will help most local bands out there today. You might be implementing some of what I'm about to say, and that's fantastic, or you might be starting a new band and you want to know what to do next. This video series is meant to act like a template that you can chop and change and adapt to your band and your style of music. In this series, I'm going to be going over 6 steps that kind of act like foundations. These foundations are ones I use for my own band, and they're foundations I've developed over playing in bands for the past 8 years. Before we jump in, here's a little bit about me and my experience in music. I started doing bands in my small hometown of Launceston, Tasmania. We made really basic and kind of crappy metalcore music, and we played the only 3 towns there to death, and we never left the state. From starting bands in my high school years, I remember how hard it is to know how to conduct yourself and kind of make sure you fall in the fewest pitfalls as possible. It was only until I moved to Melbourne in 2014 that I actually met a lot of really hardworking people that were really happy to share their knowledge with me. That knowledge helped my band to get where it is now. Without that help, without that assistance, we could still very well be in Tasmania playing a pub gig on a Friday night to 10 payers in the other bands. The band I've been in for the past 5 years is like a metalcore, deathcore act by the name of Gravemind. And over the course of 5 years, we put out 2 singles, 2 EPs, and about midway through last year, we actually released our debut album, Conduit, which reached number 30 on our national charts. So this is an achievement the boys and I are really proud of, and it's opened a lot of doors for us. It's kind of set this trajectory that sky's the limit, so long as we work really hard and kind of make the right sacrifices. That trajectory, it includes really great touring opportunities, like supporting bands that inspired us, like August Burns Red, Northlane, Make Them Suffer, and playing on national festivals that are headlined by Parkway Drive. The future's looking bright. There's a mountain of hard work to do, but we all feel like we're really equipped with the right tools to take it all on head first. I'm also a bit of a nerd. I like video games. I like Quake, I like Doom, if that isn't kind of like already half obvious from the channel's aesthetic. Usually I'm an incredibly busy person. I manage Gravemind and am the band's vocalist. I spent the past 8 years learning, making mistakes, seeking help, and knocking down milestone goals each and every year. So with all that's going on in the world at the moment, I kind of wanted to take this downtime and kind of give back all the things that I've learned from all the really incredible people over the years, and just kind of pay forward basically all the things I've learned, and hopefully you guys can get something out of it. I'll be referencing my own band a lot because it's kind of like the closest thing I have to any like first-hand experience, and I'll be presenting you with some opinions and teachings of people I've learned along the way that I think will be beneficial to just about any band, whether you're pop punk, deathcore, grindcore, metalcore, otherwise. I'm really excited to share with you what I know, and hopefully you can take something from it. Now I want to mention this quickly because I think it's important, and also I just don't deal well with haters, is that I'm not pertaining to be like the authority on how to do a band successfully. And I can really only help you up to a certain level, as it was only mid last year that our band put out our first record. Now this isn't a humble brag, but the album went really, really well. And that was thanks to, in part, working with a really fantastic record label by the name of Grayscale Records, which is a label I actually work for now doing marketing and graphic design. Now Grayscale Records has a massive onus on their bands kind of carving their own path and more or less working with them, not under them. This means I was able to have like a really strong hand in the album's like production decisions, the marketing, the presentation, just about everything from A to Z. I learned a lot of great new skills from Grayscale, and they really made it so that we could kind of like set the stage for something that's kind of like the biggest passion in our lives, which is our band. I've always wanted to do a series like this because I've always kind of really wanted to pay forward all the things that I've learnt along the way, and I kind of think now is probably the best time to do it. I still remember what it was like, you know, driving 2 hours to play a pub gig to like 5 people, and I kind of know how it is to go from absolute zero to having your music loved by literally thousands of people. Now, if you're on the level of, say, Parkway Drive, you're pretty much not going to get anything from these videos. But if you're anywhere between starting out and maybe gearing up to release even your second album, I think there's a lot of utility in what I'm about to say. Right, moving on. So in this series, I'm going to be making the assumption that you kind of want to make your band like your career goal. You kind of want to one day make your band your main job, and you want to be able to tour the world basically playing music that you love. If you just kind of want to play pub gigs like once every 3 months and only if you can get time off work, a lot of what I'm about to say is just going to sound like complete overkill. This is a series for people who want to take their bands very seriously. They want to put in a lot of hard work, try and break through the glass ceiling, and just give this whole music thing everything they've got. So in these next few videos, I'm going to be going over some foundations that I use to just kind of orient my band and keep it on track. Now, a lot of these foundations, I notice a lot of bands kind of maybe either consciously or subconsciously already use them, and I'll probably go over them in more detail in future videos, but I really just want to cram in as much as I can over the next few videos for these foundations.
Step 1, love your music.
Now, this is the most important step there is. You really shouldn't move on to anything else until you've absolutely nailed this one. So you really need to love your music. If you're not listening to your music in your downtime and you're just like too embarrassed to kind of like show your peers, you really need to lock this one down first. No one is gonna love your music if you don't love it yourself. You're gonna be your own biggest supporter always. No one's gonna have your best interests at heart better than yourself and better than your own band. If you don't love your own music, then how can you expect anyone else to? You need to be able to love your music so you can back it with the right convictions to separate it from the pack. Back in high school, when I was a really fucking terrible vocalist, I didn't like my own music because I didn't like my own vocals. And in the end, that impacted on my own band. You can only get so far with shit music, which unfortunately can be pretty far. But you don't want to be that band on the lineup where everyone just kind of goes and takes a 20 to 30 minute smoke break. You need to love your music.
Step 2, sell your music.
You need to think broader about your music and kind of like what you can do with it for it to reach new audiences and continue to grow at a reasonable pace. I get the whole business side of music can be kind of gross, and if you are a creative person at heart, it can be really counterintuitive to kind of how you operate as a person. Here's how I kind of remedy that. I compartmentalize being a manager and being an artist. So when our guitarist Damon goes in to write all the music, he goes in with no other intention than to write music he can be proud of, basically, and music that represents him as a person. I match that mentality and I write lyrics as if him and I are gonna be the only two people on the planet that'll ever hear the music. This is how I maintain integrity. It's how I'm able to give myself space to try creative and new things. And it kind of like stops me from freaking the fuck out, like when I go into write thinking to myself, is this gonna be the breakout single? Is this gonna be like the next big thing? I just don't let business or marketing or any of that kind of impact on the creative process. It's a deeply reflective process for me, and I'm sure it is for Damon too, and I just can't compromise that for anything. Once the music's written and the creative aspect musically is completely put to bed, I'll take that tortured artist and I'll cram his ass in a box and I'll bury it deep, deep down. Because then I need to basically put on my business hat and start a new type of creative process, or I have to look at the music as if it's a product. How will I first identify what the music is, how it will be received by what types of audiences, and then how in turn will I sell the absolute living shit out of it. At the end of the day, if you want to tour the world, you want to make your band your job, you need to sell your music, you need to sell your merch, you need to sell your brand, and you need to do it better than just about everyone else out there. Your friends, your frenemies, your enemies, fucking everyone. You need to be able to sell the shit out of your music. You have to start looking for new opportunities and you have to start looking for new ideas. You might already have some like kooky ideas in mind of how to sell your music or, you know, sell your brand or whatever it may be. Or you actually might need to start looking for some help, which leads me into the next foundation, which is no ego, which I'll be going over in the next video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you got anything from it, leave a like and subscribe. I'm gonna be doing a lot more of these videos in the future because there's just so much to discuss when it comes to running a band. I wanna hear from you. So what things do you wanna know? What things do you wanna improve upon? Leave a comment in the comment section below and I'll endeavor to get to as many as I can. And if you're happy to support me so I can continue to make these videos, you can subscribe to my Patreon. There's some really groovy tiers available for those who wanna donate a little bit more, which include things like a one-on-one session where we can continue to improve and grow your band. Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you next time.